Memphis, Tennessee in 1962. A Saturday evening. A grandmother holds a rat-tail comb over a girl's scalp on the front porch of a shotgun house in Orange Mound. The smell of Dixie peach pomade is thick, sweet, and unmistakably Saturday. Across the street, a domino slaps a card table. Laughter answers back, and nobody looks up. Her mother did the same thing on the same porch 30 years before. These are 20 porching traditions that were standard in black neighborhoods across America, and every one of them is gone. Now, before we dive in, tap that subscribe button. You will not want to miss what is coming next. Number 20. The Women Who Watched the Block. In every black neighborhood, there was at least one woman who sat on her porch all day and knew everything that happened on that street. She was the surveillance system, the alert network, the conscience. A metal lawn chair with green and white webbing. A glass of sweet tea with the ice long melted. A cardboard funeral home fan moving slow. That woman could tell you who came home late, whose child was acting up, which car was parked where it should not have been. She knew the mailman's schedule by heart. A stranger felt her gaze before he saw her face. She did not call the police. She was the police. Today, a Pew Research study found that a majority of Americans know only some or none of their neighbors by name. That woman knew everyone for 4 blocks. She required no salary, no badge, no database. Just a porch and the authority of having raised everyone on the block. Nobody hired her, nobody replaced her. She watched the street, but what she did while she watched is its own story. And it starts with a colander full of green beans and a brown paper bag. Number 19. Shelling peas and snapping beans on the porch. Women brought the colander, the grocery sack, and the bushel to the porch every summer. Purple hull peas came from the garden or from the produce truck. A 5-gallon bucket sat between the knees. The pop of the hull as the thumb ran along the seam. The soft patter of peas hitting the metal bowl. Green beans snapped into inch-long pieces. Children were pulled into the work whether they volunteered or not. A pot of water was already boiling in the kitchen. Newspaper was spread on the porch floor to catch the shells. Every pea was a conversation. 3 women could shell a bushel and solve every problem in the family in 2 hours. The food was the excuse. The communion was the point. But those women were sitting on something more powerful than a porch. They were sitting on an architectural idea that was old before America existed. Number 18. The shotgun house porch, an African invention. Many scholars believe the front porch, as Americans know, it did not come from Europe. It may have come from Africa. The shotgun house, that narrow home 1 room wide and up to 3 rooms deep, may trace its origins to West Africa through Haiti. Some scholars believe the word shotgun comes from the West African term to gun, meaning place of assembly. Not a place to sit, a place to gather. Rows of these homes appeared in New Orleans, Memphis, Houston, and Birmingham. Each porch was 6 feet from the next, close as theater seats. That closeness was not poverty. It was design. They bulldozed entire blocks of shotgun houses and called it urban renewal. Cities demolished them by the thousands, destroying the architecture and the culture it held in the same swing. But the women who sat on those porches had a tool in their hand that said more about black survival than any textbook: a cardboard fan. 3 cents worth of paper carrying more weight than you would think possible. Number 17. The funeral home cardboard fan. Every black porch in America had at least one cardboard paddle fan from the local funeral home. A wooden handle stapled to stiff cardboard. A picture of Jesus or Martin Luther King Jr. on one side. the funeral home name and phone number on the other. The fan came free from Sunday service or from the visitation. The cardboard was thick enough to push real air. The wooden handle worn smooth where the thumb gripped it. Women fanned slow on the porch, a rhythm like a resting heartbeat. The fan doubled as a fly swatter, as a plate for a slice of pound cake, as a signal to a child across the yard. One sharp wave meant, "Come here right now." A dead man's name on the back of a fan keeping a living woman cool on a July porch. That is not morbid. That is a community small enough that dying and living happened on the same block, in the same week, under the same hand. And while she fanned with one hand, the other was often holding a pressing comb that had been sitting on the stove since noon. Number 16. The porch hair session. Mothers, grandmothers, and aunties did hair on the front porch on Saturday. Press and curl, cornrows, plaits for the week. A pressing comb laid across the eye of a gas burner, the blue flame underneath. Dixie Peach pomade at 35 cents a tin. Royal Crown hair dressing in the glass jar. The sizzle when hot metal met greased hair. That smell was the universal Saturday smell of every black neighborhood in America. A towel across the shoulders, a girl told to hold still. If she flinched, the comb kissed her ear and she remembered the lesson. The salon charged money. The porch charged patience. The difference is that the porch came with a grandmother's hands. And the quiet knowledge that beauty was not purchased. It was given by someone who loved you enough to sit in the heat and hold your head straight. Something to notice about these first 5. Not one required a building permit, a business license, or an invitation. The porch was public and private at the same time. It belonged to the family, but it served the block. There is no modern equivalent. Nearly 3 out of 4 American adults use social media regularly. It is not the same. Number 15. Sleeping on the porch. Before air conditioning was affordable, entire families slept on the porch during the hottest months. Pallets on the floor. A cot, sometimes just a quilt folded double. A sheet hung for modesty, and a window fan on the sill pointing outward. A mosquito coil burned in a tin can on the railing. Children stacked side by side on quilts. The strange magic of falling asleep outside while the whole street did the same. You could hear Mr. Thompson's radio 3 houses down playing WDIA until the station signed off. The house was too hot to hold a family. The porch was not. Every family on the block solved the same problem the same way. And in solving it together, they built something no air conditioning unit ever replaced. And while they were out there in the evening air, somebody had already dragged the card table out. Because no porch was complete without what came next. The porch was where men played dominoes every evening and all day Saturday. The sound could be heard 2 blocks away. A folding card table with metal legs wobbled on uneven boards. A cigar box full of double 6 dominoes. The slow, certain way a man placed his tile. And then the slam. Palm flat, driving the domino into the table hard enough to bounce the other man's beer. Talking trash the entire time. Scoring done on a brown paper bag with a pencil stub. A 25-cent bet that mattered more than money. The domino table was the only boardroom most of those men were ever invited to. It was enough. They had house rules and they enforced them with a look. Number 13. Selling plates from the front porch. If a child could not afford school supplies or the church needed new choir robes, black folks hosted plate sales. A hand-lettered cardboard sign taped to the porch post. Plates, $3. Fish, $4. The smell of hot grease carried 2 houses in every direction. Catfish, fried chicken, spaghetti on Wednesdays, white bread on the side, always. The line formed at 5 in the evening on a Friday. Cash only. Georgia Gilmore understood this when she sold fried chicken sandwiches to finance the Montgomery bus boycott, starting in 1955. Selling plates was not a side hustle. It was an economic engine. No permits, no inspections, just a woman who could cook and a porch within walking distance of hungry people. She could feed 30 people from that porch. But the porch also handled justice, and sometimes justice was not gentle. Number 12. The porch whipping. When a child misbehaved badly enough, the whipping did not happen inside the house. It happened on the front porch where the neighborhood could see. A switch pulled from the hedge, the child's legs danced involuntarily. Neighbors watched without pretending not to watch. The humiliation was more lasting than the sting. Everybody knew by sundown, not because of gossip, but because 3 porches heard every word. The porch whipping was a contract. The neighborhood raised that child, and the neighborhood witnessed the correction. Discipline was communal because survival was communal. A child who ran wild was not just a family problem, he was a block problem. The porch held everyone accountable. Number 11. The porch quilting circle. Women brought their quilting frames onto the porch and sewed together. Sometimes 4 or 5 women gathered around a single frame stretched between chairs. The quilt top had already been pieced together inside during winter, and now it was stretched for hand quilting in the good light of the porch. Old dresses, old shirts, old curtains were cut into squares. A woman could point to a patch and say, "That was your daddy's church shirt. That was the dress your Aunt Lucille wore to the reunion in 1958. Every quilt was a family history stitched into cloth. When the last stitch was tied, the quilt held the voices of every woman who sat there making it. Every one of these traditions had something in common. They required a person to be visible, present, reachable. You could not do any of this behind a closed door or a privacy fence. Today, many new American homes are designed around backyard decks instead of front porches. That shift tells you everything. Number 10. The Candy Lady's Porch. Every black neighborhood had a candy lady. One woman on the block who sold candy, chips, freeze cups, and pickles from her front porch. Every child knew her address by heart. Now and later's 2 for a nickel. Kool-Aid frozen in Dixie cups, a dime. Pickles in a Ziploc bag with Kool-Aid powder shaken on top, a quarter. A cigar box for the money. She knew your name and your mama's name. If you were short on change, you asked carefully. You were not just buying snacks. You were asking a neighbor to extend trust. In a neighborhood where kids were asked to grow up quickly, her porch was one of the few places where childhood was permitted. One candy lady in Orange Mound in Memphis said this has been going on for over 70 years. 70 years of children lining up at the same porch. But not all porch visits involved nickels and candy. Some involved a young man in a pressed shirt, sitting very straight and trying not to sweat. Number 9. The courting porch. A young man who was interested in a girl had to sit with her on her family's front porch, in full view of her parents, her siblings, and every neighbor within earshot. Privacy was not an option. That was the design. He sat in the chair farthest from the girl and closest to the front door, her father visible through the screen door, her mother bringing out lemonade not for hospitality, but to get a closer look. The porch swing moved slowly if things were going well. If the father came outside and sat down, the visit was over. A boy who showed up after dark was not invited back. Courtship on the porch had rules because it had witnesses. A man's intentions were tested in daylight. Number 8. The Saturday night porch party. On Saturday nights in warm months, certain porches became the gathering spot. An extension cord powered a record player or a transistor radio, WLAC out of Nashville, WDIA in Memphis. Bobby Blue Bland spun on the turntable. A bucket of ice held bottles of Falstaff beer. Folding chairs were pushed back against the railing. A woman's shoes were left by the screen door because she could not dance in them on porch boards. Laughter was sharp enough to carry 4 houses down. The Saturday night porch party required no cover charge, no dress code. It needed one good radio and people who still knew how to gather without an invitation. Number 7. The Sunday morning porch hymn. On Sunday mornings before church, families sat on the porch in their Sunday clothes and somebody started humming. Then singing. Hymns carried from porch to porch until the whole block sounded like a choir warming up. White gloves on the railing, a Bible on the arm of the chair, patent leather shoes catching the morning light. Amazing Grace starting low on one porch and answered 3 doors down with the harmony. The block had no choir director. It did not need one. Church began on the porch an hour before anyone opened a church door. The steeple was just where they finished what the porch had already started. But there was one porch tradition that most people have never thought to name, and it was the foundation underneath every other tradition on this list. Number 6. The elder's chair. On every porch there was one specific chair that belonged to the oldest living person in the household. No one else sat in it, ever. A green metal glider with a cushion flattened to the exact shape of one body, or a wooden rocker with the right armrest worn smoother than the left, or a lawn chair that had been rewebbed 3 times. That chair faced the street at the best angle. It caught the breeze first. When Big Mama sat down, the conversation adjusted. Voices dropped. Lies stopped. Children straightened up without being told. When she died, nobody sat in that chair for a long time. Some families never moved it. It stayed on the porch through one more summer. Empty, holding the shape of a woman who was no longer there to fill it. That is not furniture. That is a monument. Sociologists call what these porches created the third place, a space that is neither home nor work, where a community happens naturally. Black people did not need a sociologist to name it. They called it the porch. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health epidemic. No institution in modern life does the work of one front porch in a black neighborhood in 1957. Number 5. The porch watermelon. On the hottest days, someone brought a watermelon that had been cooling in the bathtub or in a wash tub full of ice. They thumped it first, the deep hollow sound that meant it was ready. It was cut lengthwise with a butcher knife on newspaper spread across the porch steps. There was the crack of the rind as it split. Seeds spat into the yard. Juice ran down chins and forearms. Children ate the heart first and left the rest for the grown folks. A salt shaker was passed around because some people put salt on their watermelon, and some people thought those folks were out of their minds. Nobody photographed it. Nobody posted it. It was just food shared in the heat among people who did not need an occasion to gather. Number 4. The porch radio. Before every house had its own television, one radio on one porch could serve an entire block. A Zenith or a Philco with an extension cord running through the screen door. Joe Louis fighting on a Friday night, and every porch going silent at the same time. Jackie Robinson at bats called out loud enough to follow from the sidewalk. Saturday evenings, the blues filling the space between houses like smoke. Sunday morning, the gospel hour. The radio did not separate the neighborhood, it unified the block. One signal heard from 12 porches. That radio cost $9 at the Western Auto. The community it built was worth more than the house it sat in front of. Number 3, the lying porch. Elders told stories on the porch, long ones. Some were true, some were improved. An old man sat in a chair he had not left in 2 hours. His audience was his grandchildren, his neighbors, and a stray dog lying under the step. He told stories about the flood of 1927, about what the white man said at the store, and about what your grandfather said back. The children did not interrupt. The story had a rhythm, a slow beginning, a long middle, and a sudden punchline. Some stories were so old they had been told by 3 different men in 3 different decades. Nobody knew the original version anymore. What mattered was that someone was still telling it. It was where a child learned who her people were and what they had survived. That history lived in a voice on a porch after supper. When the last person who remembered the story died with them. No archive on earth recorded its loss. Number 2, the Repast porch. After a funeral, the family came home, and the neighborhood came to the porch. Food arrived in foil-covered dishes. People sat for hours. The porch overflowed with people still in black. A card table was covered with fried chicken, baked macaroni, collard greens, potato salad, sweet potato pie, and pound cake. Children ran in the yard, confused by the gravity of the adults. You could hear someone laughing at a memory, then catching themselves, then laughing again. Somebody saying he would have hated all this fuss. Somebody else saying that is exactly why we are doing it. The Repast porch said something no funeral home could. It said we are still here. The dead had been buried, but the living still needed to eat and cry and laugh within reach of each other. The porch held all of that at once without breaking. But if you strip away every tradition on this list, the hair, the dominoes, the plates, the hymns, the funerals, there is one thing underneath them all. The simplest tradition we counted, the one they killed first, and the one that mattered most. Number 1, the evening sit. Every evening after supper, black families went outside and sat on the porch. That is all. They sat, they watched, they existed in the open air together, for no reason other than that the day was ending and they were alive to see it. The screen door closing behind you with that particular spring-loaded slap, the creak of the chair accepting your weight, the day still warm in the porch boards under bare feet, lightning bugs rising out of the grass. The streetlight coming on at the end of the block, a mother calling a name into the dark, a neighbor lifting a hand from the next porch. The wave returned, no words needed, the sky going from orange to purple to black. Nobody going inside until it was fully dark, because inside meant the day was over, and nobody wanted it to be over just yet. The evening sit cost nothing. It required nothing. It produced nothing that could be measured or sold or optimized. It was a family on a porch at the end of a day. That is all it was. And it was everything. 20 traditions. Not one required a membership, a password, or a monthly subscription. They required a porch, a chair, and the willingness to be seen by your neighbors. Somewhere right now, on a porch that still has a metal glider and a screen door that slaps, an old woman is lifting her hand to wave at someone walking by. Somewhere, a child is watching. The lesson is beginning again. If you want more forgotten wisdom from the generations who came before us, the next video is waiting for you right now.